everyone. It's Dr. Manjari Nadkarni, Ayurvedic physician and registered holistic nutritionist, back with another episode of Manjari TV. So, today we're going to talk about radical self care, what it exactly is, and how it can absolutely transform your life, right? So, hey, Josephine, so nice to see you. Thanks for being my like subscriber to the Manjiri TV. That's what we're talking about today. So self-care, right? Self-care is seen as something that's a luxury or an indulgence that's only reserved for people who have a high sense of, self-importance, or it's only reserved for somebody who thinks they are super important or takes care of themselves or are vain, right? But self-care is not about vanity. Self-care is about taking care of yourself, and if you have a good sense of your own well-being, you should be, taking time for self-care. It's not extravagant, it's not indulgence. It's something that's a requirement, right? That's a basic criteria for your mental, emotional, physical well-being. So don't see it as something that's only reserved for people who have too much time or too much money to go to spas and have massages. It is something that each and every person should be following, right? If you have a physical body and a mind and a soul, and if you are on this planet, you have to take care of yourself first, right? And that's what I mean by radical self care. So, radical self care means that you're taking care of yourself first, you're prioritizing self care, and you're not putting your own needs at last or after everybody else, right? So that's what radical self-care means. Radical self-care literally means that, okay, this is my priority, my self-care is my priority, and I am choosing self-care, right? I'm embracing self-care in a very powerful way, and I'm not going to look at it as something I can do after I've met everybody else's needs, right? So radical self-care means understanding your own needs as uh, a priority and focusing on your own needs in terms of how you want to best care for yourself. That means radical self-care. Why am I talking about radical self-care right now? We're almost a month before Christmas, right? And it's the festive season, and this is the time everybody's stress glands start getting out of balance, right? So festive time, the biggest festivities in the year happen during this time of the year, where you're constantly running to meet the demands of your family and your friends and plan big parties and festive dinners and host people over or spend time with people. So this is actually the time where your stress glands are starting to get out of balance, just because of the busyness of your life and because you're not making self-care your priority, right? So that is why I have chosen this topic. We are 30 days away from Christmas, right? And right now is the time when you have to focus on taking care of yourself. So make it your priority. And there are a few tips I'm going to talk to you about to make self-care your priority and have like perform radical self-care, right? So that's really important, and this can totally transform your life, right? So when you start focusing on yourself, you improve your sense of physical, mental, emotional well-being, right? So an example is when you start looking for things, that's when you find it. When you start looking for things within yourself, you will also find those, right? But if you keep constantly ignoring yourself, your health is going to suffer on all different levels, whether it's your physical health or mental health or emotional health or spiritual health, right? What you're ignoring is not going to help you. So ignorance is not bliss, right? Ignorance can actually be a big pain, and you might be paying for it later during, after the time passes and your stress glands are going out of balance, right? So why we talk about stress glands? Because the busyness of the world, right, gets to your stress glands, and you're constantly pumping stress hormones in the system, which can create the fight flight mechanism or the freeze mechanism, and that keeps happening constantly in today's world, right? And that is why choosing self-care as a way to balance yourself, as a way to unwind, as a way to stop the stress response on your physical body and your mental emotional self is extremely important, right? So today I'm going to talk about a few points of how you can take like self-care pretty seriously, and how you can implement radical self-care. The first thing I'm going to talk about is how to nurture yourself as you would nurture your child, right? So for all our listeners today who are moms, would you let your child go hungry or let them skip meals, right? Or would you ever talk to them in a not so nice way, right? Or would you ever push them when they're exhausted, right? You would never do any of such things, right? You're never going to let your child go hungry. Then how can you let yourself go hungry, right? I often see women skipping breakfast. Like today, there was a client and she was like, oh, I just have like 1 to 2 meals a day. I don't have much time for myself, right? But if you won't let your child go hungry, then why are you not nourishing yourself, right? Why do you have a lot of negative self-talk? You would never talk in a nasty way to your best friend or your child or your spouse, and yet there's a voice in your head that constantly berates your own self, right? And that plays a part into your self-esteem, and then you start feeling bad about yourself. Then you're going to reach for any kind of junk food or anything sweet that's going to make you feel a little bit better, and the whole cycle of self-sabotage starts, right? So if you take care of yourself, if you would stop saying mean things to yourself, if you would stop going hungry, right? Because hunger itself can also push your stress glands. If you're shaky, that means your insulin has dropped low, and that itself is pushing your stress gland to put hormones in your system, right? And when you're shaky, your actually muscles can break down to release a lot of glucose in the body, because your brain needs a constant source of glucose at all times. So, right, and when you push yourself, when you're exhausted, we live in a world where everybody's pushing themselves all the time. So you're constantly on a hamster wheel where we're not reaching any destination, but we are going on and on and on. So sit down for some time and analyze what is it that you want from your life, and what are you really achieving, right? Are you just being busy as a way to distract yourself from what really you should be doing? Or are you really productive in terms of your goals and your life goals or your family or whatever it is that you're working on, right? So really take time to see where you are in your life right now. Are you just busy for being busy, or are you really productive and doing something constructive with your time, right? So that's the first thing, like nurture yourself as you would nurture your child or your best friend, and never let yourself go hungry. Make sure you're never having any nasty self-talk, and make sure you're not pushing yourself too much when you're exhausted, right? The second one is stress management, and I talk about stress all the time. In today's world, stress is implicated in all diseases, right? It's one of the causative factors for everything, whether it's your metabolic issues or your digestive issues or food allergies. When I test for food allergies, they often start from a point in someone's life when the person has been extremely stressed, right? That's when your digestion takes a big hit, and you start not digesting food well, so the undigested food kind of starts circulating in your system, your immune system gets triggered, and that's how the whole cycle of food sensitivities, food allergies starts from there. So managing your stress is extremely important, right? And managing your stress means you have to find ways to decompress throughout the day. Whatever you're doing, whether you're working, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether you're retired, whether you're in school, like no matter what it is, you have to find some time to just relax your entire body and just chill and do whatever you like to kind of diminish the stress response on your body, right? So manage stress and try to find ways that you enjoy to decompress from stress, right? Whether it's like reading comedy books or watching TV shows which are comedy for some time. Try not to watch anything that's violent and that's totally triggering you. So avoid that. The third thing I want to talk about is schedule some me time, right? So scheduling me time is extremely important, because when we talk about managing stress and trying to decompress, nobody puts it in their schedule, right? When you have important meetings, you have everything listed. When you have your doctor's appointment or you're meeting somebody else, you're meeting your friends or there's somebody's birthday, you have everything in your calendar. So try to schedule some me time every single day, right? So for my own self, one of my friends, CEO Kelleher, challenged me to 90 days of meditation, right? Meditation and prayer. So I've been consistent since October. I think it's my day 40 or something. I have kind of lost count, but I have been consistent every single day with my meditation. And that has a huge positive impact on my own mindset, right? And that's why, like, even things that would have thrown me off aren't throwing me off right now, because my practice is really grounding me. So try to find that one thing and really, ground yourself into it. And if you practice the one thing over and over again, it becomes a habit and becomes a part of your lifestyle. So it's not a chore anymore. For me, meditation is not an extra work where I have to do it and why am I doing it and should I be doing it or not. It's just something that's a part of me, right? Because I've done it enough and I'm doing it every single day without failing, right? So I'm almost on my 40-day mark. So try to schedule something in your calendar, whether it's meditation. Some people absolutely love exercising, right? So if you're not physically completely exhausted, um, it's always good to fit in some exercise in your time, right? So in your schedule, exercise, yoga, dancing, line dancing, tap dancing, like whatever form of movement that you enjoy, add that in as a, in your calendar. Maybe 3 times a week you can dance, maybe 3 times a week you can do something else, but incorporate some kind of movement in your body, because that takes the edge off, right? Massages are also extremely good when it comes to um, self-care. And the reason is because when we talk about, vata dosha, right? So air and space element combine to form the energy of the wind known as vata dosh, right? Or vata dosha. So that can be balanced by touch, right? So air element is soothed by touch. So when you have warm oils for massage, or when you have a really nice massage, it calms you down and it balances your vata. And we live in a vata deranged world, so massages are extremely good this time of the year. Um, we have an awesome massage therapist at Blue Water Nutrition. So for anybody who's local, feel free to call us and book in your massage. The fourth one is taking responsibility for meeting your own needs first, right? If you're feeling that nobody prioritizes you, you're not doing it yourself either, right? So if you are not your own priority, why would somebody else prioritize you? And I know it's not a nice thing to say, but you need to hear this, right? If you don't prioritize your own life, if you don't prioritize your own self, nobody's going to put you at the top of their list, right? So you have to make the choice, and you have to almost have some radical responsibility towards your own being, and take responsibility for meeting your own needs first, right? Try not to look for things in the outside world, right? Happiness, joy, everything comes from within. It comes when you are satisfied with yourself, when you're content with yourself, when you're at peace with yourself, and when you know your authentic self. If you absolutely have no idea who you are, and you just keep, being out there in the world, just doing your thing without any inner connection, you're not going to be happy, right? So self-care also means spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself. If you're somebody who doesn't know what hobbies you have, um, take time and figure out what do you enjoy, what did you really like as a kid, right? And start with some hobbies, something that'll relax you, that'll add some excitement in your life, some enjoyment, some joy in your life. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one is celebrating your wins, right? So this is extremely important. And this is the one thing I absolutely struggled with, right? So for people who are high achievers or high performers, we often go from one mountain to the other, and you take a flag and you put it on all mountains. You're conquering different mountains and planting flags on them without really taking into account how far you've come, right? And we all kind of progress in life, and you're not the same where you're started. I'm not the same Manjiri I was 5 years ago. I was like a meek little girl. I would be afraid to, I cannot imagine myself doing a Facebook live 5 years ago, right? And sharing my voice and my opinion 5 years ago. So I have come a long way, and I do celebrate my own wins, right? So this is what I do. Like for everything, I have like either a small token of appreciation or I have some memories. So on my travels, I'll pick up pieces. So this can be something which is like memory related, and it doesn't have to cost anything. I literally picked up from like the seashore, right, on one of my travels, because the trip was a big win for me and I was kind of connecting with my friend and I was celebrating a certain event in my life. So literally picking up different things, anything that you absolutely love, buying a pen or like a mini bracelet, or giving yourself a sticker for being good, as you would do in kindergarten for kids, we would get like different stickers and we would like really celebrate our wins. And so try to acknowledge your win and really celebrate it, because that motivates you further. And that also brings a lot of happiness in your life. And when you are happy, you're also going to take better care of yourself, right? When your sense of self-worth increases, you are also going to make sure you're taking the time to even better it, right? So these are 5 things that I talked about for radical self-care. I want to challenge you all. So we have 3 people live today. So we have Khushbu who's live. I can see Josephine. So I want to challenge you all to the next 90 days of radical self-care, right? Pick one thing that means self-care to you, right? It just has to be one simple thing. It doesn't have to be 10 different things. So if you commit to meditation, do a meditation for 10 days. If you commit to making meals for yourself, or nourishing yourself and not skipping any meal, commit it for the next 90 days, right? If you are going for exercise or a walk, right, out in nature, commit to it for 90 days, right? If you are celebrating wins, pick a win, every single day. There is something that went great every single day in our lives, right? There are challenges, but there's such a lot of goodness as well. And that's the one thing I want to challenge you to: 90 days of radical self-care. You can put a hashtag 90 days of radical self-care below on the comments, and just tell me one thing you're committing to, so you can better take care of yourself. And this 90 days will absolutely transform your life, right? So hashtag radical self-care 90-day challenge. Pick the one activity that you absolutely would love to do for the next 90 days, right? So I am already on my day 40 of meditation, uh, which is my way of showing radical self-care to myself. And even if I'm extremely busy throughout the day, I'll make sure at the end of the day, I will finish my meditation before I go to bed, right? And every day in the morning, when I have time in the morning, that's the first thing I do before even I have my breakfast. So I'll take a shower and I'll go and meditate. And that's how my day starts for the past 40 days, unless it's been a day which has been extremely busy. But I do make up time. Like 30 minutes for yourself is something you absolutely deserve, right? So let me know if you are ready to accept my challenge for 90 days of radical self-care. Hashtag 90 days radical self-care in the comments, and tell me the one thing that you're going to pick for yourself, and commit to it for the next 90 days. If you absolutely love this video, like I have been getting a lot of nice feedback from you, make sure you can, hit the love button or the like button, and please share it with your friends and family. You can share this video and you can tag your friends whom you want to challenge for the 90-day self-care, right? 90-day radical self-care. So let's start the next year, like even before the year starts, let's start it extremely powerfully. Let's make sure that we, uplift our community and support our community, and help our friends and family take better cares of themselves, right? So feel free to tag your friends and challenge them to the radical self-care 90-day challenge. And let's see where we go from here. So I'll be back tomorrow with another Facebook Live, and feel free to like post any comments or questions that you have for me. And I can see that Josephine is already in the challenge. Yay, that's pretty awesome. And she's picking meditation. So for everybody else, let me know what you're going to pick. And thank you so much for listening to me. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow.